Mic check, 1, 2. Mic check, 1, 2. Governor press conference. Mic check, 1, 2.
Nope.
Mic check, 1, 2. Mic check, 1, 2. Mic check, 1, 2. 1, 2. Good. Good. Yeah, mic check, 1, 2. Governor press conference, April 9th. Mic check, 1, 2. Good. Awesome.
All right, Alyssa, check 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2, 3. Hello, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, let me get back there.
Also, folks, today, trying to bring order to the chaos. The governor will pick the questions from the reporters, vie for his attention. We will bring you the microphone. That way people can hear online. That's how we'll do it.
At ease, gentlemen, ladies. Welcome, everybody, to the weekly press conference. And, real quick, I spoke with Tim Gatz a little bit earlier, who's our Department of Transportation main guy. And he wanted me to remind Oklahomans there's a big concert in Stillwater this weekend. It's Cross Canadian Ragweed, and hopefully I get a chance to go at some point, but that's not the purpose of his reminder. There's a lot of road construction around Stillwater, so just remind people to kind of plan your routes and be safe and wear your seatbelt. Obviously, don't drink and drive, and have a great time in Stillwater. So it's going to be, I think, 4 or 5 days, maybe in a row of concerts, and 4 days, and it's kind of my genre. So I actually started downloading a few of their songs to refresh my memory. So. Anyway, it should be a fun time in Stillwater. So, well, with that, let me open it up to questions, comments. Yes, sir.
I had a couple. First, this map that you sent us yesterday. I was hoping you could expand on that a little bit. We were a little confused. Like, as far as I can tell, the Stillwater fire isn't on here. And then my other question would be, were you at a command center? Oh, okay, but it said Guthrie, so that's why I was a little bit confused by it. Anyway. Were you at a command center, during all this and monitoring the resources that you say weren't used by forestry?
Yes, I was at the command center. And as far as monitoring the stuff, you assume that these people are doing their jobs. So we have the emergency management person is Annie Vest, and so she does a great job for the state. So the reason we have a command center during either tornadoes or floods or, during COVID and some of the things that have happened, and obviously during the wildfires, is for one simple phone call. So any kind of resource that they need or problem we're having around the state can come to one centralized center, and then we've got everybody there. So you have the people with assets from forestry, and you have the people that are assets with whether you need generators, and you have the people with assets that we can push out across the state. And so the problem was when the general is there, in this case it's going to be Annie, you know, she needs to know what that battlefield looks like and be able to push assets to Stillwater and to Guthrie and as people are calling in. That didn't happen. We didn't have forestry, was not part of that. They weren't sharing information, and then it just took a long time to get the information. But it's really, I mean, I think this is old news. This is kind of blown over. I'm tired of talking about it. I terminated the people that I felt like the person at the top that did not put all those fire hoses and those resources on the fires. And I think Oklahomans agree with me. I think Oklahomans understand that when you've got all these resources at the state level, and we have the worst wildfires in state history, and you're not deploying them to those fires, you're leaving half of those assets in eastern Oklahoma, that's a problem. And especially when we're asking for taxpayers to spend money to bring in resources from Louisiana, from Arkansas, which we did, and we'll do that again. But we certainly, most Oklahomans thought that if I'm bringing resources in from Louisiana and Arkansas, we at least had all of our resources fighting those fires, and unfortunately that didn't. And I can explain it a different way to you, because I know your station, you guys keep spinning this and changing the story and trying to run your little narrative on it. But the facts are, if we've got a hospital, for example, let's say 1,500 people come into our emergency room, and they're all dying of a heart attack. They all have a heart attack. And we have 20 people come into the hospital ER, and they have a runny nose, and they have flu-like symptoms and sore throats. We've got 40 doctors. It's called triaging. Every single hospital would take all those resources, or at least 39 of them, and they would put those doctors on the most serious patients, probably all 40 of them. What we did in the forestry, the management of forestry, the bureaucracy, took half of our resources to the most critical things and left half the resources in eastern Oklahoma fighting a 2-acre fire, a 13-acre fire. When remember, we have wonderful firefighters in Idabel and all these different areas, and we've got those folks down there fighting those fires locally as well. We needed our resources in Stillwater and Guthrie, and we need these resources up here fighting the 92,000-acre fire that was sweeping through. So that's the point. And I think Oklahomans get it, and you can spin it however you want to spin it, but that's the fact. If the governor can't fire the person running forestry, who can? That's the problem with this. No bureaucrats ever held accountable. And that's what I'm going to do as governor, is make sure that people are spending resources wisely and we're getting those dollars on target. Yes, sir.
This is about the executive order that you issued today. Do you have an estimation as to the number of full-time employees from state agencies who have transitioned into contract status? And the second part is it possible that that transition has been encouraged by agency heads because they want to meet your ambitious goal of reducing the number of state employees?
Yeah, and you're so into the weeds a little bit. I just want to make sure Oklahomans know what you're asking here. But basically, there were rumors that was happening. Listen, when I leave office as governor, we're going to have fewer state employees than when I took office in 2019. So that's the goal. We believe in flat budgets. I'm not trying to grow government. We're going to have fewer state employees when I leave office, okay? I've said it 100 times, and I'll say it again, and I'll stand up, and I'm screaming it to the cameras. We're going to have fewer employees. What the rumor is, and what some people that are trying to grow government, they're saying to you, well, the governor is trying to get rid of employees, but then he's hiring contractors. So I am putting this executive order out to prove that's not true. There's no way. If we're paying a contractor when we can have an employee do it better and quicker and more efficiently, I would absolutely say hire the employee, right? Keep the employee. We want to serve the taxpayer. The big picture here is let's be efficient with the dollars. Let's make sure the mission at hand, we're actually accomplishing it. So no, we're not getting rid of employees. Actually, the employee count is up right now. It's up probably 300 or 400 people since I took office in 2019. And so, yeah, I mean, my goal, though, is to be fewer, right? I think with technology and with efficiencies and with limited government, we should have fewer employees. We should be able to, through attrition, not hire back as many. So we're going to disprove that there aren't people running around signing new contracts up. And I think we'll be able to show that. So that's the purpose of that EO. Yes, sir.
Hey, good afternoon, Governor. Phone's down. I was going to ask you, so you're saying keeping
This guy's
bureaucrats...
got a great voice, doesn't he? He's got like a voice for TV, radio,
I'm
everything.
screaming right now, I apologize. So you say holding keeping them in check, basically, when it comes to the forestry thing. You could have put in a burn ban. You could have done a public safety power shutoff. You knew about the dangers way in advance of that Friday. Why didn't you act? Why didn't you? Do you not take any blame at all for what happened?
Yeah, well, I mean, ultimately the governor's responsible. That's why I'm taking action now. But yeah, you can play Monday morning quarterback on everybody. The burn ban situation, it didn't hit the threshold. So if Annie Vest and Secretary Blaine Arthur asked me to do it and said this met the threshold, we'd do it. Counties also, county commissioners can issue burn bans without the governor's statewide burn ban. But that's the answer to that question. And then, yeah, listen, play Monday morning quarterback. I wish the wildfires wouldn't have started. And I don't think it's practical for the governor to say, hey, I'm going to turn off all electricity for the citizens of Oklahoma because there may be some high winds here in these areas. We're going to have wildfires, and I'm not mad that we had wildfires, right? We're going to have that. That's going to happen. But I think it's totally different if we had assets, and I don't know how anybody can argue with me. Maybe the media will argue with me, but I don't think Oklahomans will. If you have assets and they weren't deployed to these fires, that's the problem. And we're going to hold them accountable. And it's just as simple as that. Yes, sir.
Sorry about that. I had to wait for the microphone. We have heard a lot the last couple of days about students at Oklahoma universities, international students, having their visas revoked. There's 8 at OSU, 4 at UCO, and several other universities. And kind of what do you know about that? And is the state working to maybe protect some of those students who could be student athletes, could be scientists, whatever, help them along and maybe keep them here? Because, I mean, they do pay full tuition in a lot of cases.
Well, first off, I saw that report just like you. I think it came out today that they were revoked. 2 things. Number one, the feds control those visa, those work permits. And you've heard me in these press conferences. I think the governor should control more of the contracts to work to be able to give people more contracts to work, whether it's in construction or engineering or whatever, because we're closer to what our workforce needs in the state of Oklahoma. But that's not the way it works right now. So we don't really have any control. It's not like we can say, hey, don't revoke this visa. But I will say I'm confident that President Trump is not revoking visas just to do that. There is either some kind of criminal activity, there is something that's happening with those visas that they say that's a danger to the United States of America. I totally trust President Trump that they're vetted those, and so this is 8 people out of I don't know how many visas, education visas we have here, but more will come out. But we did not get a heads up. We don't know exactly what those revocations were, but visas. That's a privilege to go to school here in the U.S., and we see it on the TV. We see these crazies doing some kind of crazy protests and anti-Semitism, and we see some crazy stuff from other universities and people getting out of line and vandalism. And so, yeah, I think the American people are like applauding President Trump, saying, yeah, let's make sure that people that love our country, that people are here and we're giving them an education, and which I think is great. I mean, I'm for that. I'm for bringing in the best and brightest, as long as you're going to follow our laws and you're going to chase the American dream and you're going to be part of our society. If you're going to be knuckleheads and criminals, me and every Oklahoman, at least the Oklahomans I know, want those people out of our state and out of our country. Yes, ma'am.
Which outlet are you with? Which outlet? Thanks, Governor. I am asking about the fires also, but I think putting aside what has happened already, I know that the forestry services have lost a lot of leadership and lost people with like decades and decades of experience. So in between now and when your workforce develops suggestions for those to be implemented, like who's taking how are our forests and our fires being managed in that meantime?
So I don't know specifically what Blaine Arthur has there, but I think she'll choose an interim director to come in, someone with maybe a retired firefighter or somebody like that to come in and give a fresh set of eyes to that agency. But the sun is coming up tomorrow, right? Without holding someone accountable, life goes on. The government is still rolling. We're going to be okay. We're going to put a fresh set of eyes. We're going to make sure next time there's wildfires, we do a better job of getting those assets on those fires. So that's the only thing that we're saying. And I think, we beat this horse. I've given you the data. I've given you the numbers. And we look forward to the interim director. I don't know exactly who that would be, but I think Blaine will choose somebody very, very competent, very knowledgeable about this industry, and also with a business aspect to say, how can we do things better? I think most people, if you're realistic, is everything in government working perfectly? Of course not. Is everything in your business working perfectly? Is everything in your family working perfectly? I'm a guy that's always pushing and asking questions. How can we do things better? How can we make things better for Oklahomans? How can we save Oklahoma taxpayers money? That's who I am. I'm the governor. Oklahomans elected me. If they wanted the other two candidates I ran against, they'd elected them. But I never apologize for putting my values and trying to make Oklahoma more efficient, more accountable, and and on more mission to the target. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I'm done. You got me rattling.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to ask you today in the House Public Safety Committee, they talked about a bill revolving around the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority and tribal tags. The Turnpike Authority talked to me a little bit ago. They said they can't really get the registered owners of those vehicles and properly bill them. The representative on this bill said $12.9 million lost there. Trying to make that work and everything. I wanted to ask for your opinion on that. That did get a do not pass inside the committee. So what are your thoughts on all of that?
Yeah, well, first off, I just found out about that, so I'll probably gather more information, have more information next week. But I think this is a 95 or 98 or 99% issue with Oklahomans. Like, the turnpike the fee should not be based on race. It shouldn't be based on where you live in the state. It shouldn't be based on what tag you have on your car. Everybody that drives the turnpike should pay the same amount, right? I mean, I don't know who would disagree with me on that or how you could possibly disagree with me. So the fact that you've got the Muskogee Creeks that have killed this bill, and I don't know who voted against it or whatever, because they want to drive on the turnpikes for free, I think Oklahomans find that disgusting. I think Oklahomans find that ridiculous. We've got a compact with the Cherokees, with the Choctaws, with the Chickasaws. We know who the tags are. You're just like Oklahomans. We can see that. It's the same billing process. Listen, nobody likes paying turnpike fees, and let's make them free for everybody. But I can't be a fair governor to say that you're going to pay a fee to drive on the turnpike, but yours is free. I mean, and argue with me. How can you make that case? And how this goes down in the committee is baffling. You need to go ask the question to the people, like, why would they vote against that, right? Because it's my understanding that's all the bill was like, hey, let's make sure we know who let's make sure we understand if you're going to print a tag that we know who that is on the turnpikes, right? So pretty common sense. Oklahomans overwhelmingly agree with me on that. Yes, sir. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Governor Kevin Stitt. I just want to ask you, with the 30th anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing just around the corner, how would you say that it's shaped Oklahoma over the past 30 years?
You know, I mean, listen, it's something that we do every single year on April 19th, and it's a remembrance, and we're trying to make sure that we never forget, right? you know, the effects to our state. President Clinton's coming into town on that day to speak, a 30th anniversary. We all remember where we were, that we're in Oklahoma at the time. I was a senior in college. I remember driving through and actually seeing that myself and seeing the cleanup that was happening. And so anyway, it's something that Oklahoma Standard came out of that. And we rebuilt or we've reshaped our city. I think people now think of Oklahoma with the Oklahoma Standard, neighbors helping neighbors. And we're not going to put up or tolerate with that type of hatred. So it'll be a great time. We do it every single year. And these 168 people that lost their lives that day, we'll never forget. And, you know, we all know as Oklahomans, people that we went to church with, people that we went to school with, neighbors. And that, I mean, in a state like Oklahoma, we all know someone. Somebody on my cabinet, they lost their mother in that bombing. And so it's just always a time to remember. Yes, sir.
Governor David Chasanoff with Fox 25. We have been told by 3 state agencies that your communications staff has told them to ignore our open records requests. Are you aware of this, and do you think that's acceptable?
You've been told to ignore your open records request?
Yeah, we've been told by state agencies that your communications staff has told them to ignore Fox 25's open records requests. I just want to get your take on that and if you think that's acceptable.
Of course, I don't think it's acceptable to ignore an open records request. So if there's an open records request, there's a FOIA process that you should be able to get all state data and all records, et cetera, et cetera. So we'd love to get that for you. Any other? I want to say one thing on mental health real quick. So there's been, because I just got back from Broken Arrow, and then Broken Arrow, we had a little press gaggle, and they were asking me about, you know, cutting to mental health. And I've seen that like in the news and people spinning saying we're cutting mental health, right? Has anybody seen that? Y'all might have reported on that. It's not true. When you're confusing Oklahomans, because we have grown the mental health budget. There's about $800 million that we spend in mental health every single year. We're going to spend the same amount this year. I don't think the legislature is going to cut mental health. If you hear what's happening is a vendor, okay? So we have thousands of vendors that the state spends this $800 million, okay, through some kind of vendor, some kind of nonprofit that then takes care of Oklahomans, okay? I don't care where it goes. I want it taking care of Oklahomans. That's the way most Oklahomans think, right? Let's get these dollars on target, taking care of the people that need it. All right. We have some nonprofits that their CEOs make $1.3 million, that their COOs make $1.1 million. So we're asking questions. We're holding people accountable. If one vendor is saying that it costs us, they're billing the state $6,700 to take care of a patient, and another vendor is charging the state $2,700, we may want to take some of the assets there and put them into the one that can serve more people. Does that make sense? So there is no cuts. So you're confusing Oklahomans if you say they're cutting mental health. They may be changing from this bad contract and redirecting those funds over there so we can actually get those on target to take care of more of Oklahomans. But that's what I don't understand why you try to confuse Oklahomans on that, because you scare people. What happens is the bureaucracy takes care of itself, and when you're cutting some vendor that makes this much money, of course they're going to run to the media and they're going to start spinning and saying, hey, we're being cut. They're cutting, people are going to die. They're cutting services. That's not true. The money is the exact same amount. We're actually trying to get that money on target, all right, and more efficiently. So just tell the whole story, and then say, hey, no, we like this vendor. Don't cut this vendor. That's fine, but don't confuse Oklahomans. Make sure you dig in to know it before you say that. Is it? And you might just not like me. That's fine. But is this really a good vendor? Or maybe the people are actually looking into it, knowing that we need to move some of these contracts around to promote this one or this one or this one, so we can actually serve more of Oklahomans. Let's take a question about it. Sure.
Go so fast.
It's my understanding some of these contracts were changed after they were originally signed, rather than when they're coming up for renewal. Is that not the case?
They're changed, say that again?
So the contract was signed 3 months ago, and now they're changing the terms of that contract for the remainder of it for the next 9 months.
I don't think that's true.
Okay,
If a
thank you.
contract's a contract, right? You can sue someone, you can sue the government. If we're not living up to our contract, if they change anything, it was a discretionary bonus that was discretionary. So, and it was basically to be, because nobody was checking on outcomes, right? And so if they're changing discretionary bonus, absolutely, I want them doing that. That's coming from me. I'm saying use money efficiently. Let's get money on target. Don't waste it at the bureaucracy, whether it's a nonprofit bureaucracy or it's actually a government bureaucracy. Let's get those dollars on target, right? So, but I just want everybody to know, because you confuse Oklahomans. When my mom watches TV, are you cutting mental health? No, Mom, we're not cutting mental health. The same dollars are going to mental health. They may be just, what's happening is the person you move their cheese is screaming really loud because they're not getting as much money because they're not being as good as all these other vendors that we have, right? So just make sure you do your homework before you do that. The last thing I'll say, the House put out a release on their DOGE report, which I'm super pumped that we're all talking about how we can get more efficient government. I'm really excited about that, and they had a community effort-driven web form for individuals to fill out suggestions, which is fantastic. And we've released ours. We've got $157 million in grants that we found that we can return, and then the suggestions from the legislature they have a bunch of them, and I encourage them to send these bills to my desk so I can review them and either sign them or move them on. But they talked about reducing the number of school districts, consolidating school administration. The House talked about consolidating higher ed, consolidating state storage and warehouse facilities, reducing state vehicle fleets, reducing state printing services, reducing traffic signs, consolidating agencies. So all good ideas. We should look at those. And so I'm so excited that the legislature, House specifically, I think this was a House report, they're starting to talk about that and talking about those things. So get those bills to my desk, and we'll get them across the finish line. Thanks, everybody.